Hello and welcome back to another episode of Be Heard, where your voice will be heard. I'm your host, Dylan Swindle, here with Mayoral candidate Jorge Sanchez. George, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello everyone, my name is Jorge Sanchez. I am running for mayor of Las Cruces, New Mexico. Soy Jorge Sanchez y estoy corriendo para ser el alcalde de Las Cruces, Nuevo Mexico.
Very nice. Now today's episode is going to be similar to all the other episodes. I'm going to bring up another umbrella topic, as I call it, and we're just going to kind of delve into the minor subtopics within solutions, problems, etc. So first topic today is the importance of mental health.
Yeah, I feel like that's one of the most important topics here, pretty much the whole world at the moment, because if you've seen kind of what's going on, it's affected our generation the most.
Right.
Am I right, Dylan? Like,
I would have to
if
agree.
I'm being honest with you, we named this episode We Relate because we're going to relate to all the topics we're going to speak about. And I feel like me and Dylan Swindle have related to this mental health topic because we're the ones at the moment who have seen it affect our own friends, who have seen our friends go into depression, who have seen our friends deal with anxiety, who have pretty much seen some of our friends pass away from a few of these situations that they've been going through.
Right.
And that's why, me personally, I feel like this topic has to be talked about more and has to be dealt with.
I agree, and I think it's hard to say. I'd like to say that, you know, our generation specifically our mental health is at an all-time low compared to other generations. But I mean, it could very well be that you know, we're just more able to bring it to light, if that makes sense. Although there are for sure many other influences that we have to deal with now that are certainly plummeting us. For example, now with social media, we have, you know, fashion icons that kind of put these body images on men and women.
Exactly.
And, you know, it puts people into downward spirals with eating disorders, you know, image, you know.
Yeah, and it gives them a
dysphoria.
lot of social anxiety and makes them
Right.
kind of isolate themselves.
Yeah.
If you expect to look like a lot of these Instagram models, like, you're never going to want to go out in public. You're never going to have that confidence that you should. You're never going to have that high self-esteem.
Right.
You're always going to be down on yourself because of it. And I feel like that's why we need to shine light on it, because we were kind of dealt these cards when we get social media at a young age, but our younger generation's getting at a younger age,
Right.
and they're going to be way deeper into that. So I feel like at the moment we need to deal with these problems right now, and it's not just by taking away their phones or doing things like that.
Right.
But we also need to get them a clinic, or we need to get them more counselors that they feel they can trust and kind of be able to talk to about a lot of these things.
Right.
Because a lot of the time we don't talk to them much. A lot of the parents, as parents, they need to talk to their kids too, because a lot of parents are trying to be strict, and then they ask, where are you, what are you doing, when they should be asking, how are you doing, and checking into their kids' lives.
Right. And like you were saying about, you know, making counselors more available for people, that's actually what sparked my drive to go into that profession. I'm going to college at MSU to be a counselor, specifically marriage and family. But, you know, there's no denying that there is such an influx of mental issues in our generation. It's only going to get more prominent as time goes on, especially with, as you were saying, with kids getting phones at an even younger age. And today's glorification of fashion icons, specifically, you know, Kim Kardashian, you know, it's cool and all, but, you know, for young kids 5-6 years old on their parents' phones,
It's not a good role model.
It's not.
And it's not a good way to it's not a good place to set your expectations.
Right.
And I feel like as a society, we need to set our expectations more towards not fashion icons and more kind of historical geniuses, historical icons, better yet. You know, we need to start looking up to the Steve Jobs, the Jeff Bezos, you know, people like that, instead of the Kim Kardashians and you know what I mean?
And I think this kind of stems back to our previous episode with Mike Clark, whenever we talked about, you know, youth programs, and we kind of touched on the topic of mental health and how we thought getting them out of the house and away from screens would better do that. Do you think there's anything else that we can do to?
Well, personally, as mayor of Las Cruces, what I'm going to do for the youth is I'm going to get them those recreational programs to get them off their phones, get them out the house, and get them kind of more opening up and getting away from that, isolating themselves and that social anxiety. And another thing I'm going to do is, like I said, the mental health problems aren't just in the youth. It's also in some of the older people and the homeless people, the drug addicts.
Absolutely.
Like I told you, I was going to get that Back on Your Feet program where I'm going to get them the jobs they need, that psychiatric help, mental help, and the drug rehabilitation that we need to give those people because they're so unrepresented at the moment. And mental health is such a huge topic in our society today where we need somebody that's going to get that done. And I promise you, I'm the person to get that done.
I'm glad you said that because we talk a lot. You know, it's a common speech that our generation is, you know, mentally messed up. But, I mean, this spans across people of all ages. And I feel like we isolate them in the conversation a lot. You brought up homeless people. You know, people, they go through a lot of situations and a lot of different times they handle things differently, and it puts them in a lot of different mental states. So that you're going to do something about that and include, you know, all who needs it it's impressive. And
exactly. That's why this is so important to me because a lot of people, if we don't have these programs, we don't have these things for them to do, we don't have these opportunities. I've had friends who have ended up committing suicide, and that is the worst feeling you can ever have. That's the worst thing you can see.
Right.
And we need to stray people away from letting that be their only option. We need to show them that we as a city government and we as a community are there for those people too.
Totally got you. And like you said, you have friends that have committed suicide. I also have similar, you know, experiences. Do you have any that specifically really touched you, that made you? Yes,
well, I don't want to give names out on this show, but
absolutely.
I did have a best friend who, at the time, he was dealing with suicidal issues, and I was kind of the only person he could talk to, but he felt like there was nowhere else to go. There was nothing else to do. And we were at a young age. Let me remind you, we were only about 14, 15 years old. And he attempted to commit suicide. He had, you know, just drinking all these pills and T-Rat bomb. And thankfully in time, I was there to stop him. And I was there to get him help and be there for him when he was under suicide watch.
Right.
Like, we need to be there for these people because I feel like as a friend, I failed them. Feels like a community, we fail those people, and as a city government, we fail the people that we let these things happen to. So we just need to take charge now and start putting our foot down and getting that done.
Right. And it's a big task, and it's a big responsibility as a friend to be able to take somebody out of that hole that they're in, you know what I mean, because they feel alone. And there are a lot of people in the city who feel like that. And do you feel as if you are willing and able to take on that responsibility as mayor and friend to the people to help them out of this hole?
Yes, I'm always available to talk to people, and I'm always available to hear out ideas on how to help more people, because other cities have way more programs than we do, and they take more initiative into these programs than we have, because I haven't really seen many programs go on here. So I feel like I'm the person to put those in effect just because I am one of the people that relate to these issues. And I know so many other citizens of Las Cruces can relate to these issues and will probably agree with me on this one.
And I mean, if all goes well, we can be a nice template for other cities to, you know,
exactly.
implement
You start
their own.
somewhere and they...
Exactly, and watch it branch out. Do you have any final thoughts on mental health that you'd like to say to the people?
Yes. For the citizens of Las Cruces, I want to let you know that I'm there for you. My number is 575-373-5431. If you ever need anybody to talk to about your problems, or one day you're just feeling down on yourself, you can always give me a call. You can always shoot me a message on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I'm always accepting messages, and I'm always there for the citizens of Las Cruces and pretty much anyone who's in need of help.
Very nice. Now we're going to move on to our next topic, which is drug use. And of course, this kind of ties into the last topic. Let's go ahead and dive in on that one.
Well, I feel like we've talked about mental health, recreational programs, and pretty much things to do here in Las Cruces. There's not much to do here. And I'm being more honest on this episode because I feel like it's time to take charge, because there's not much to do here. People end up just doing house parties or pretty much just going out in the streets and doing hood rat things. And that kind of leads them and strays them away from the right direction and kind of leads them to using drugs pretty much. A lot of parents don't know this, a lot of people don't know this, but that's where it happens the most, is in the youth. You guys don't know this, but you guys need to check on your kids a little bit more, because I promise you that they have been offered drugs at least at one point in their life, or maybe they have, but you need to talk to them before it gets way deeper than it already is.
Right, and education is key in terms of stuff like that. You know, educations of the effects, the dangers, all that good stuff.
And the people they surround themselves with, too.
Absolutely.
That's one of the things. That drug use is just such a big problem here, and especially in the youth. I've seen it firsthand.
Right, and that's something that we are noticing more and more as we grow up. And we're still young, George, and we see the effects of who we associate ourselves with and who others are associating themselves with. And there's absolutely a direct link to, you know, downward spirals, you know, compared to the people they're surrounding themselves, and, you know, uplifting whenever they're around the right people.
Exactly. I saw a post on Facebook that they were talking about adding breathalyzers for marijuana to make sure people weren't driving while they were high. And I saw so many people say negative things about it, that they didn't like the fact that they were going to do that, that they can drive okay while they're high. And I personally don't believe in that. I feel like all drug use is a drug use. Alcohol is bad for you. Drugs are bad for you, no matter what the drug is. And I feel like we should not be behind the wheel under any of those. And we should not normalize being behind the wheel or behind any heavy machinery or doing anything that could put someone else's lives at risk while doing it. Because I feel like at the moment we're normalizing it, and it's a problem.
Right, it is. And I agree. No one should be driving under the influence, for sure. And I'd like to touch on this. You know, drug use often leads to mental health disabilities. And not to say that there's like a direct link between marijuana and depression and stuff like this, but like...
Well, it could be that way. Okay. If you think about it, like, a lot of people with mental health don't isolate themselves, or they just try and find a way to cope with it.
Right.
And it could be from marijuana, cocaine, heroin, meth, all these types of drugs that they can cope with these problems. And also people that are already on some of these drugs, not marijuana, but probably more of the deeper ones, they kind of end up having that addiction problem, which is a mental health problem as well, because that's the only way they could cope with anything, or they start having these withdrawals and start doing crazy things.
So let's talk about like a lower intensity drug. So let's focus on marijuana for right now. You know, we talked on a past episode about our prison systems and how, you know, they're not really set up for released prisoners to be reintroduced into normal life. For people who are getting arrested on possession of, you know, low importance drugs like that, do you think that something like decriminalization would be something that would be beneficial?
Yes, for under a certain weight, because we also can have people moving bricks.
Right,
you know?
yeah, that's real.
But what kind of gets me mad on that is how I've seen some people get some prison time for having a small amount of marijuana or something like that, and then there's people who are domestic abusers, and they are off the next day.
Right.
You know, they're just out. They get maybe probation or community service.
Right.
That is hurting someone else's life.
Yeah.
And one is maybe having a gram of marijuana on you, when we need to kind of switch up our priorities and get the monsters, the people that are hurting others, longer sentences, get them in prison, and the people who are just kind of worrying about themselves or doing things like that, like the smaller offenses, we need to be more lenient on them, and these harder offenses, we need to smack down on them harder.
So to summarize what you're saying, you're saying that we need to kind of readjust our prioritization of these crimes. Some are certainly worse than others, but they're not being treated, and it's not reflected in that light.
Exactly. Right? That's what we need to do.
Got you. Well, we're going to be touching back more on that after the commercial break and a bunch of other topics. So make sure you return to us after this commercial break for the rest of the episode, Be Heard, where your voice will be heard, with mayoral candidate Jorge Sanchez and myself, Dylan Swindle.
So great, you can do all these different gears, like one hand.
Okay.
Nice.
Guys, not all. Granite is here. We'll come to you to customize your kitchen and bathroom with beautiful countertops and cabinets. Find out more at horizongranite.com. Call us at 575-650-3180.
Horizon Granite is here.
It's here.
Make yourself a beautiful home.
Hi, I'm Ray Bamberg with Here on Earth. I would like to invite you for a free hearing evaluation to our office. We've been here in southern New Mexico for 34 years helping people hear better.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Be Heard, where your voice will be heard. I am your host, Dylan Swindle, here with Mayoral candidate George A. Sanchez. Now, before the break, we were talking about drug use. And George, if you have any final thoughts on that topic, go ahead and say them now.
Yeah, I want to let people know as well, the citizens of Las Cruces or anyone in general again, if you do have problems with drug use, if you have problems with drug use, you can please give me a call. I've put it on this, it's probably going to be put on the screen many a times during this show. Give me a call, shoot me a message on any social media platform, shoot me a text. It doesn't matter. I'm here for you, and I promise you I will find a program to get you the help you need, or if you just need someone to talk to about it, I am here, and I will be always willing to give advice.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Now we're going to move on to our next topic for the day, which is gun violence. What's the first issue that comes to mind for you on that?
Well, this is another personal issue for me because when me and you were in 8th grade, that's when the Sandy Hook shooting happened. Mm-hmm. Or the Aurora, Colorado shooting as well, when I think we were 7th, 8th grade as well. Mm-hmm. And after that, it was just mass shooting after mass shooting after mass shooting. And especially in schools, mm-hmm. that kind of, to me, it made it a little bit scarier to be able to go to school. Right. After seeing the news, 22 killed here, 17 killed. Mm-hmm. And that kind of just puts a lot of gives a little frightening thought that's put into your heart mm-hmm. right before heading to school, which nobody should have. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we grew up with these issues. We should be the generation that should be able to fight these issues. And it's not really guns in general. It's fighting the people that are doing that and taking away the guns from them mm-hmm. or getting them stopped. So with gun violence, what I'd want to do personally is take away the gun-free zone sign off our schools. And what I'd want to do is want to put, like NMSU has a campus police. Mm-hmm. I've gone to Phoenix and other cities where they have campus police on their elementary schools, middle schools, high schools. And yes, we have one officer, but mm-hmm. Centennial was a big school, wasn't it?
Very big school.
Exactly. They can't cover that much ground. And by that, when I do that, we're going to get the kids who go to those schools to have more trust mm-hmm. in our police department, because at the moment they don't have a very good perspective of them. Mm-hmm. And we need to get more trust into our police department and show them that we have amazing people that are in the police department. And I promise you, these monsters who commit those mass shootings will not go near our schools when they see that we're prepared mm-hmm. and we are being protected by the Las Cruces Police Department.
Gotcha. And I remember a specific incident whenever you and I were in middle school. I don't know if it was 7th or 8th grade, but someone had made a threat on Snapchat, and I think Snapchat had just started coming out. Yeah. Someone said, "Hey, don't come to school tomorrow. I'm about to do it." And I didn't go to school because I was very fearful. And I just remember that feeling. It was just like, this is a very real threat, even regardless of if it happens or not, which it didn't. But I think disciplinary action was taken on that kid, which is good. But I think with the older generation, and especially with older politicians, they didn't grow up with this same kind of fear or uncertainty of their safety at their school. So I think that's why they lack a lot of urgency mm-hmm. when it comes to tackling the issue. And I think that's an advantage that you have as a candidate, being a young person who has grown up mm-hmm. in that kind of environment. So what do you think those experiences will do for you?
Well, personally, like I said, we grew up watching the news, and it's horrifying to see that stuff mm-hmm. happening. But I think the moment it hit me hardest is when it happened in El Paso, because at that point, like, you know, it hit our own community. Right. Like, it's not a game no more. It's just not a news. Mm-hmm. It's not a news headline anymore. It's an actual problem that has affected our community now. Right. So I feel like as mayor, I would take charge now, because I feel like we've waited too long, and we always wait too long. We're a society that waits too long when we need to do things before it happens. We should not have had a cop patrolling around Walmart till after 22 people died.
Right.
We should have those police officers patrolling highly populated areas or place where a lot of people go at once. We always need to have police officers around protecting those people. In our schools, we shouldn't wait for a mass shooting to happen here. We shouldn't wait for an act of terrorism to happen here. We have to stay protected. I myself, if I win, or when I win, better yet, I will make sure that our schools are protected, having more police officers on campus, making sure our kids can trust them and show them how amazing they are. I will have more police officers patrolling these areas where crime is at its highest. Those are hot zones. We need to put more police officers in those zones and also have them just pretty much putting more on the line every day. We need to have more officers out there every day patrolling the streets and making sure that our people are safe.
Gotcha. And you sound very passionate about this. And I was talking to you prior to the show, if you recall, about the complexity of this issue. You know, it's not just about having guns to fight guns, but I mean, it all tackles back into drug use and mental health issues. So, and you seem to touch most of the bases. So, kudos to you. Do you have anything final to say about this topic?
Yes, I feel like at the moment when we say the only way to fight guns is with guns, it's like pretty much saying we're trying to fight fire with fire. When me personally, I'm not going to give these teachers guns. I'm not going to keep these gun-free zone signs up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that these monsters and these people who want to commit crimes with assault weapons or any weapon at all know that we are protected, and we will have someone right there waiting for them if they want to come through and try anything. I promise you that it will not end the same as it has in other places.
Very nice. Now we're going to move on to our next topic, which is diversity. Go ahead and take that.
Well, when I said diversity, I wasn't just talking about races. Las Cruces is in the top 100 most diverse cities in America, and there's a lot of cities.
Yeah.
So when I said diversity, we are a very diverse city by race. We are a very diverse city, and say by people who have different hobbies. By pretty much, there's so many different groups here in Las Cruces, and when I wrote about that, I said, I kind of meant to say is we need a mayor who represents all of them. We need a mayor who can speak to people who are passionate about bicycling. We need a mayor who can speak to the different races and show that they're all represented the same. Different people at different income levels, showing that we have all of their back and we are willing to help at all times and hear them out.
And that's certainly a noble task, but it's without a doubt a difficult one to achieve. How do you think that you can do that? It sounds like it requires a lot of boots on the ground time.
Yeah, and I understand that, and that's my way of getting that done is I will bring more people into the city government, hire more people, and show the people that we are a very friendly city, that we accept everyone. The other day I had a question that was brought up, and it was talking about the LGBTQ community and asking, how will I help them get employed and how will I help them get housing?
It's a fair question.
Because a lot of them, they can get judged wrong by,
Yeah.
And personally, I have been a realtor for a little bit now. I've been licensed. I've gone through property management and all that. And I have always had to follow the Fair Housing Act, which means we cannot discriminate anybody based on their sexual preference, off their race, off their gender, off anything. And we need to bring that here to pretty much all aspects. I will make sure that if you don't get hired at a job, I expect you to get a rejection letter on why you didn't qualify. If you don't get a home but you're qualified, but you still get rejected, I expect you to get a rejection letter explaining why. We need to start asking, why didn't I get that phone call back? Why didn't I qualify for this when I'm extremely qualified?
Right.
Is it based off my race? Is it based off my sexual preference? We need to show that they are represented and they have a voice here in Las Cruces too.
Wow, okay. That's awesome. So that, I'm assuming that's not currently a law or a mandate, right? So is that something that you would hope to pass?
Yes, I will make sure it does get passed.
Oh, right.
Because living in New Mexico, we're a very diverse state. not just Las Cruces, the whole state is very diverse. And we need to not just be diverse in the race, but or accepting of different races, but we also need to be accepting of all groups.
And that certainly takes out a lot of the he say, she says stuff, because if they get a rejection letter, they get, in the fine print, here's what it was, whereas oftentimes it's open to speculation.
Exactly, because a lot of times when you go and apply for a job and you don't know why you're rejected, you just don't get that call back and say, well,
right.
I was hoping I'd get a call, but I never got one, but you never know why.
Right. And especially in those situations where you thought the interview went really well.
Exactly.
You thought it went really good. Do you have any final thoughts on this?
Yeah. As mayor of Las Cruces, I promise you that when I made my slogan, your voice will be heard, I promise you, your voice will be heard. And I promise you, I'm going to represent every single group in Las Cruces for no matter what the situation is. Like I said, you could give me a call, shoot me a message. I'm always available, but I will make sure that you are represented.
Very nice. Now, to our viewers, thank you for watching another episode of Be Heard, where your voice will be heard. I'm your host, Dylan Swindle, here with mayoral candidate Jorge Sanchez. This episode, we touched on a few topics and dove pretty deep and saw the passion of our candidate here. George, do you have any final words to say to our viewers before we sign off?
Yes, I wanted to give out a message to the people who had brought up my age a lot during my campaign. I just want to let the people know, and also this is for the youth, and showing you why you should vote. I wanted to tell you guys that I relate to all these situations I'm talking about. Gun violence, I relate. I was the one that saw these mass shootings happen, and I was the one going to school watching them happen. Drug use, I'm the one who has seen many of my friends fall to drug use and mental health problems. I've seen so many of my friends deal with those all the time. I have related to so many of these things that are happening, and I promise you that Las Cruces needs a mayor, and the government needs younger people to hop in and give our youth a voice and show them, well, we relate to these things. We're the ones that need to deal with it. We're the ones that are going to inherit this climate change problem. We're the ones that need to be in office and taking charge now.
Very nice. And to our viewers, make sure you tune in to our next episode next week, Monday nights, 10 p.m. live on the Las Cruces channel. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
I am Jorge Sanchez, mayoral candidate, and I approve this message. Esteban Olivas, Treasurer.